You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Max Darrow. We begin with breaking news. BART is recovering after a major service disruption during today's morning commute. It all began right around 6 o'clock this morning. BART put this alert out on social media, saying an earlier equipment problem is causing delays on the track through the Trans Bay Tube. Then around 7 o'clock, they said the red and green lines stopped running. Service now is back. Trains are running, but commuters should still expect major delays. Let's get right out live to our Veronica Macias, who is at the MacArthur BART station in Oakland. Veronica, BART has been affected by disruptions in these past several months. You've talked to a lot of passengers throughout the morning. What are they telling you?
Well, this morning, we could tell you we haven't seen people that were packed onto platforms or people who were left scrambling, trying to figure what to do for their morning commute like we have seen multiple times this year. But no one wants to start their Monday morning trying to figure out how they're going to work around a delay or having to call their employer, letting them know they're going to be late. So right now we're seeing things moving along smoothly here at the MacArthur station in Oakland. There have been a number of people who, don't want to face this other issue with BART, where again, for the third time, some of us tell us they've been caught in the middle of this. Now, we know that this delay is going to last into the next several hours. Earlier this morning, we know that people were having to transfer. Some people were being shuffled inside the station, having to transfer because the red and the green line were down for several hours. And now that we're getting word that the problem is being fixed, we can still expect to see those delays. BART is going to be continuing to recover throughout the day. This major delay system-wide because of an earlier equipment problem, we're told, on the tracks in the Trans Bay Tube, things being reduced to a single track there. And BART commuters say that this morning, they're getting used to all of these delay notices. Some of them learning how to work around it, some of them learning how they're going to deal with it moving forward, trying to make other plans. Take a listen.
At this point, it's kind of regular. Like, I'm just used to it. I just make plans around BART, whether it's working from home or taking the bus or walking. So, like, when it works, it works. That's sort of how I treat it.
It's becoming an issue where I'm considering just moving out of Berkeley because I work in San Francisco, and moving just completely into San Francisco just because it's so unreliable in the morning to travel sometimes.
That wasn't the only person I talked to who says they're now going to make plans to see if they can move closer to a station that has multiple lines, or just moving to San Francisco altogether because they're fed up with the situation and having to call in, letting their employer know they're going to be late because of a BART issue. The last time we saw a BART issue, things a little more serious. This was back in late August. There was a train that was filled with smoke, people very concerned about the situation. We saw firefighters going in to check the situation out. It turns out there was an issue with the brakes. There was no fire. Still, people said they felt like there was very little communication when it came to BART letting them know what the situation was like, what was going on. This morning, people seem to have learned from lessons from the past year. Everyone has been checking their BART app, looking at their phones. The updated information is given out every 20 seconds. So people know that they can rely on the BART app for information. They just wish that they could have a more reliable system, is what I'm hearing, Max. But as of this morning, we don't know exactly what the mechanical issue was on the Trans Bay Tube. And of course, once we hear more, we'll pass that information along.
Veronica Macias live for us at the MacArthur BART station in Oakland. We have more that we want to get to on this story, so let's now get over to Brad Hamilton. He's live at the Embarcadero station in San Francisco. Brad, you've been out there talking to riders. You also talked to some of BART officials. That's the first we're hearing from them this morning. Fill us in on what you've learned.
Yeah, BART official Chris Filippi was definitely busy. When he wasn't on his phone, he was talking to us. I have never seen an official give back-to-back interviews because over the speaker system, they go, all right, all systems are a go. And so Chris himself had to find out, okay, are all systems a go? So you're even seeing some of the spokespeople having to figure things out in real time. And what we learned is, again, that a conductor this morning around 6, that Trans Bay Tube, the conductor that was on that line heard a pop. And then again, there were reports of smoke. Now, as that unfolded, you had five lines become 3 lines, and then we got the word about a half hour ago, maybe now 45 minutes, that everything was back up and running. But again, it is happening slowly. I'm actually interested to see what we see as the next train comes in, because when passengers were coming in, I mean, these cars are just loaded with people. Not too happy. One woman we spoke with said it usually takes her 20 minutes to get downtown for work. It took her 2 hours. And then earlier, like we talked with Chris Filippi, this was the first of 2 interviews. We asked him if they're starting to see a pattern with these recent. This
I wouldn't necessarily say that there's a pattern at this point. We don't know enough about what happened this morning to connect it to any past service interruptions. These things do occur, and the reality is we have had several major service interruptions recently, so we really want to get to the bottom of what happened today, see if it somehow has some similarities to what has happened recently.
And we got some beautiful timing here because we have rain. And this is headed to the San Francisco airport. A lot of people obviously coming from the East Bay in. Still pretty crowded here, and we'll see the mood of people coming in. But the yellow line was actually the one that was working the best all throughout the morning. So I think people should be happy here. Most people are just probably getting to work a little bit later. But again, now smooth sailing as far as what we're seeing here, and hopefully it stays that way, Max.
Brad, we appreciate the reporting there. Hopefully it does stay smooth. Of course, expect some delays as they do get everything back online, and they don't look too upset behind you there. So hopefully that's the right attitude. So, all right, thanks, Brad. Appreciate that. Let's take you back outside now. These were the conditions on the platform at the Pleasant Hill BART station earlier this morning. You can see a lot of people out there waiting for their trains, looking around, wondering if they are going to show up or if they're going to have to transfer to another line. And then this video right here, this was from this morning at the ferry terminal at Jack London Square. There were people trying to opt for other modes of transportation because riders couldn't rely on BART this morning. We did speak to one rider this morning that did say these problems at BART are just kind of expected at this point.
Is this something that you've just gotten accustomed to?
Yeah, kind of. Actually, first thing I do every morning is check to see whether or not BART's on time.
So we saw a lot of posts on social media about the issues as well. Lance Wong posted this on X saying the agency is just out of this world. Never seen any public transportation that works like this, and then 3 angry emojis. Locomote Fitness says delays happen at SF BART, but the way you deal with the incidents is totally inept. Very little in the way of announcements, conflicting instructions. I love you, BART, but this is ridiculous. Please do better. So, as Veronica mentioned, BART has had a challenging few months. Here's the timeline. On August 11th, a new schedule went into effect that was actually aimed at improving transfer times. But riders experienced a lot of confusion over the adjusted train connections at some of the stations in the system. Then a few weeks later, a blown insulator in the Transbay tube sent smoke wafting into a train car on August 29th. September 5th, there was a full system-wide shutdown. Transit officials said a massive computer equipment failure happened following a network upgrade that actually halted all train service for several hours across the Bay Area. Service did resume later that morning, but there were residual delays that lasted well into the day. And then last Wednesday, BART shut down the Red Line. Staff blamed the outage on a power issue at 2 San Francisco stations.
You know, and the reality of it is for BART is we are seeing more riders than we have. And any time since the pandemic, our ridership has been up significantly. We were up 10% in September. So what that means for us is we know that more people are relying on us to get where they need to go. And when that, of course, occurs, we want to provide safe, reliable service. Most days we are able to do that. This is not one of those days. This has been a rough commute for BART. We need to own that reality.
Of course, we'll continue to follow this breaking story and bring you any major developments on air, streaming on CBS News Bay Area and on KPIX.com. Let's switch gears now and talk about the weather. Let's get over to First Alert meteorologist Jessica Birch on this Monday morning. Hey, Jess.
Well, we're kicking off this week's forecast with warm weather widespread throughout the Bay Area, and that includes our coast, too. I mean, you head over into San Francisco and Oakland and all the way along our coastline today, we either have 70s or 80s on tap for us, and that's the case, too, as we head off into our inland spots. You make your way from Santa Rosa off into the East Bay today. We have low 80s in store for us there, right where we should be for this time of year, but still a little bit above average for our friends closer to Half Moon Bay at 73 as we head into this afternoon. You add 10 degrees to that, well, now we're talking about the Santa Clara Valley forecast. forecast. A nice warm way to kick off this week, but we do have some changes around the corner as early as Wednesday, actually. I'll show you the numbers in just a second, what the models are showing. But as we head into our Tuesday and Wednesday forecast, we actually have clouds starting to push in from the south. We have a chance of some thunderstorm activity, a small chance, about 15%, as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, with showers pushing in from the central coast. But places like Monterey, Salinas, all the way over into Santa Cruz, they have the best chance of seeing some substantial rain, actually. That'll start to dry up as we head into Thursday, but look what it does to our numbers. We're holding on tight to 80s today and tomorrow. Suddenly, that area of low pressure pushes in from the south. Now that's when we see cooler conditions. 80s turning into 60s pretty fast. And then on top of that, we're also going to continue to hold on tight to mild weather diving into this weekend's forecast. 70s on tap for us, but partly cloudy skies right around the corner. Now you make your way over into our inland spots. Check this out. We hold on tight to warm conditions to kick off the week and cool conditions to head into that midweek forecast. Well, I mean, it's the same along the bay too. 80s to 60s right around the corner, and then we'll hold on tight to 60s as we head into this weekend's forecast with a chance of showers as early as Sunday and Monday of next week. For now, back to you.
President Trump is doubling down his desire to send the National Guard to San Francisco. He talked about it once again yesterday morning on Fox News. Listen.
But we're going to go to San Francisco, and we're going to make it great. We're going to make it great. It'll be great. Again, San Francisco is a great city. It won't be great if it keeps going like this. But don't forget, I can use the Insurrection Act. 50% of the presidents almost have used that. And that's unquestioned power. I choose not to. I'd rather do this.
So this is the second time in less than a week that Trump mentioned the idea of the National Guard troops being deployed in the city. He has claimed that California leaders have asked for federal intervention. Governor Newsom quickly responded after that interview on Fox with a post on X saying, quote, "Fact check. Nobody wants you here." We reached out to Mayor Daniel Lurie's office for a comment about this as well. A spokesperson pointed to his statements from last week saying crime is down 30% in San Francisco. President Trump in that interview said he has, quote, "unquestioned power to deploy the National Guard, potentially invoking the Insurrection Act." That federal law dates back to 1807. But the dean of UC Berkeley Law believes that courts will likely strike down Trump's plans.
The federal statute, the Posse Comitatus Act from 1878, specifically says federal troops can't be used for domestic law enforcement.
Trump's comments come after tens of thousands of people rallied in communities across the Bay Area to voice their opposition to the Trump administration and its policies. We saw No Kings protests in Oakland, San Jose, Santa Rosa, and dozens of other Bay Area cities. The largest demonstration in the Bay Area was in San Francisco. Roughly 50,000 people marched down Market Street and to Civic Center Plaza. Protesters here said they were fed up with the president's policies. They condemned the immigration crackdown that's defined the start of Trump's second term. At Ocean Beach, protesters formed two messages in the sand: "No Kings" and "Yes on 50." That's the ballot measure, of course, to temporarily redraw California's congressional seats in response to President Trump and Republicans doing the same in Texas. So how do San Franciscans feel about all of this right now? Well, obviously, it's going to depend on who you ask. Indivisible SF, that's the group that helped organize the No Kings March in San Francisco. One member says they are prepared if the National Guard does show up.
We're ready to actually peacefully protect our communities if they do come and do show up along those lines. We're actually teaming up with Bay Resistance to start talking about what we actually can do together to actually make sure everyone's kept safe, so that if they do show up, that they don't feel threatened by them, or people that do feel threatened about them, but we actually make sure they feel safe.
A little bit of a different take from drug recovery advocate Tom Wolfe. He says he doesn't want to see armed troops walking down the Embarcadero, but he does think the city should work with the federal government and ask for other resources to help improve drug problems in the city.
So we don't have to see troops on the ground, but we can see more federal agents on the ground busting the organized drug dealers and helping to clean up our streets.
Many Republicans have reacted to the protests, as well as the White House. We'll start with Corin Rakin, the chairwoman of the California Republican Party. She doesn't believe President Trump is overstepping and says all of the concerns people are voicing are just unnecessary.
I think voters across the United States voted for President Trump. He won. That's why he's in office. It's clear that we don't have a kingdom here in the United States because people voted. We've had President Trump, we had President Biden, we have President Trump again.
In response to multiple media inquiries about the marches and protests in communities from coast to coast, the White House released its official statement saying, quote, "Who cares?" A lot of this renewed attention on San Francisco started last week when Salesforce CEO Mark Benioff said he was in favor of sending National Guard troops to San Francisco. That was ahead of his Dreamforce conference that brought nearly 50,000 people to the city. Since then, he has walked back and even apologized for his remarks. But now there's a new report that is raising even more questions. So first, the apology. Benioff posted online, having listened closely to my fellow San Franciscans and our local officials, and after the largest and safest Dreamforce in our history, I do not believe the National Guard is needed to address safety in San Francisco. But now a source within Benioff's own company revealed documents to the New York Times that showed Salesforce pitched federal officials on how they could use AI to hire 10,000 ICE agents. Salesforce didn't deny the Times reporting and pointed out to them that they've worked with the U.S. government under both parties. Stay with us for continuing coverage as the president continues to threaten federal troops on the ground in San Francisco. For updates at any point, head to kpix.com, where you can download the free CBS News app. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area, plans to build new heights in San Francisco is getting pushback. What we know about Mayor Daniel Lurie's zoning plan. Plus, we'll take you to the small town with a big battle over recalling its top 2 officials. The housing plan that has North Bay neighbors taking sides.
Well, we're kicking off this week nice and warm. We're talking about 80s in our inland spots, upper 70s in the forecast in San Francisco, some low 80s all the way over into Oakland just across the Bay Bridge. Now, as we head into the next couple days, this area of low pressure sweeps in for our midweek forecast, dropping us down into the 60s, and then we start to average back out into the 70s and 60s into this weekend's forecast. Now, that's for our inland spots. You make your way over into the Bay, it's looking very similar. Starting off nice and warm, cooling down fast into that midweek setup, and there's even a chance of showers as we head into this weekend as early as Sunday and Monday of next week.
Today, the San Francisco Board of Supervisors will tackle a controversial rezoning plan. The proposal has split the city, with supporters saying it will add more housing and bring down prices, but opponents believe it's going to destroy neighborhoods' character and force out small businesses. Da Lin spoke to residents of San Francisco to understand where they stand about this housing measure.
Supporters of the family zoning plan held a picnic with the bounce house on Sunday to gain more support.
We're trying to build more housing so people can continue to live here.
Jordan Tyrona says Mayor Daniel Lurie's plan would benefit people like him. The 24-year-old says the only reason he can afford to stay in San Francisco is because he lives with grandma.
My grandma moved from the Philippines in 1969, and that's the only reason why I'm able to live here. Because she moved here, she bought a house in '69 when the market was low.
The community organizer with Abundance SF believes the zoning changes would make it easier to build taller apartment buildings. He argues more housing means lower rents, simply supply and demand.
We can build one more floor that can really help bring communities together, families together.
Mayor Lurie calls it the family zoning plan, making it easier to build high-density housing in the city's western and northern neighborhoods. But opponents shouted him down last month, saying the plan would only benefit big developers, not everyday San Franciscans like Jordan.
We need more density. We need young people in this town to spend money and go out at night, and all those things are very important. I just don't think you need to open the whole city to developers to say build what you want, where you want, to heights that maybe don't fit the character of the city.
Richard Correa is a retired San Francisco police commander and now a West Side community activist. He says some areas like Gary Boulevard and other major streets could handle 6-story buildings, but putting tall buildings right next to single-family homes, he says, just doesn't make sense. And bulldozing older structures could force out small businesses that lease there.
A lot of people don't think this one-size-fits-all pays the proper respect to people and their culture.
The character of the neighborhood is not just the buildings, it's the people. And when you don't build housing, it means you push people out.
The mayor argues the state requires San Francisco to build more housing or risk losing local control. But Richard calls that a false dilemma. Jordan believes more housing could mean a brighter future for him and other San Franciscans.
I'm optimistic that one day I will be able to easily rent an apartment. I don't know about buying a house in San Francisco. You know, we'll talk about that after this passes.
Monday's Land Use and Transportation Committee meeting is more of a discussion. No vote is expected. Now, there'll likely be more meetings on this plan, and the supervisors could vote on this later on this year, if not early next year.
To Palo Alto now, city council members are set to have a discussion about RV parking today. They're debating a controversial plan with a multi-million-dollar price tag. The city is considering a phased policy beginning in January that would ban rented and broken down RVs from parking on city streets. The full rollout would have a price tag of about $6.5 million over the course of 2 years, most of that money going towards signs and enforcement. Council members disagree on which streets should be designated for RV parking. While safe parking sites do help some vehicle dwellers, city leaders say longer-term solutions must be more beneficial, and that should include housing as well. Several big issues ahead for California voters next month as a special election nears. A contentious recall fight is top of mind for residents in Fairfax, the Marin County town of about 7,500 people just up the road from San Rafael. Both the mayor and her deputy are under threat as recall organizers accuse city officials of playing politics with the proposed housing development. Supporters of the administration say they are just following state housing law requirements. Kenny Choi has more on the contentious political battle that is now putting neighbor against neighbor.
Signs both supporting and opposing the recall of Mayor Liesl Blash and Vice Mayor Stephanie Hellman lined the streets in front of homes. Longtime Fairfax resident Michael Rosenthal rejects the recall attempt.
It's an unfortunate abuse of the recall system.
Rosenthal says recall organizers are abusing the system for political purposes. Recall leader Candace Neal Ricker is a manager at Naves, a local downtown bar.
Gentrification occurs, growth occurs. It's about logical growth. It's about moderate growth.
Neal Ricker blames town leaders for allegedly mismanaging funds, neglecting needed infrastructure fixes, and paving a path toward high-density housing.
I do not want to see developers gifted Fairfax on a silver platter, which is what I see right now.
State housing rules require the town of Fairfax to plan for at least 490 new units through 2031. Liesl Blash is Fairfax mayor.
It's really interesting to be targeted with a recall basically for following state laws.
Developers have proposed a 249-unit apartment complex which includes market rate and affordable units. Recall supporters believe Blash is caving into developers' demands.
I wanted to live in a small town, and now I found out that our town was going to be rezoned for high-rise development, and there was no height limits.
Blash says the town could lose even more local control of housing development if state mandates aren't met.
They could fine us a huge amount every month. We could be sued by third-party advocacy groups who have often been suing to the tune of several $1 million. And we could also make ourselves open to builder's remedy, which would allow almost like unchecked development in our towns.
It's a town divided, balancing growth and preservation.
The costs and wins have to balance out here, and currently right now that's not how this is looking.
Everybody in town pretty much is opposed to a 6-story building being developed, and they're trying to blame it on the mayor and the vice mayor.
Another recall on the ballot as the town grapples over what's best for its residents.
So if the recall succeeds, the town council would appoint interim replacements until a special election takes place. If it were to fail, the mayor has suggested she will not seek re-election when her term comes to an end. Still ahead, a huge win for the 49ers as a shorthanded defense stifles the Falcons. Our Red and Gold report is coming up next. The San Jose Sharks are apologizing after a controversial message lit up the scoreboard at the game on Saturday night. During a Hispanic Heritage Month celebration, a scoreboard message seemed to praise Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. The team says the message likely came from a fan using the team's personalized greeting program. The Sharks apologized Saturday and promised to investigate. It was a perfect way to end the weekend for Niners fans. After the team came up with a big win Sunday night to improve to 5-2, the defense turned in one of their best performances of the season, holding the Falcons to just 10 points. Matt Lively has more in today's Red and Gold Report.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
The question all week around the NFL was, are the 49ers still contenders without Fred Warner and Nick Bosa? Well, if Sunday night was any indication, the answer is a resounding yes.
And we got ball players all over this defense, you know. I feel like y'all starting to see now with some of our prime players out.
Super proud of this team because, you know, we could have gave up, could have tucked our tails and just looked forward to next year, but guys keep fighting, man. There's a lot of resiliency in this group.
Those Christian McCaffrey critics are pretty quiet right now. CMC had 201 all-purpose yards and accomplished his first 100-yard rushing game of the season while finding the end zone twice.
My goal this week was CMC NFC Player of the Week. And if I actually called that, that might be the best guess of all time. But I think 200 yards and 2 touchdowns has a shot for it.
He definitely owes me some money. He fell down on those passes at like the 2-yard line, so he wanted to run them in. But no, he did a great job.
For the Red and Gold Report, I'm Matt Lively.
And before kickoff, the 49ers honored 2 Santa Clara high school students for their love of science, tech, engineering, arts, and math. Cassian Delmas and Jean Yu were chosen by the 49ers Foundation as the STEAM students of the game. They got an exclusive tour of the stadium and field right before the game. The students shared with us why STEAM education is so important for their growth.
My dream career growing up was kind of just, I want to do new things, just like a brand new thing every single day.
Being able to, use my creativity to make things come to life, both in like the math and the engineering and the art too.
The students are a part of the 49ers STEAM Leadership Institute. It provides academic support, skill training, and leadership opportunities to middle and high school students. Coming up in our next half hour on CBS News Bay Area, PG&E is taking new steps to protect Bay Area homes in case of the next wildfire. We'll tag along with them to see what is being done when we come back.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Max Darrow. Here's another look at our top headlines. BART is recovering after a major service disruption during today's morning commute. It all started around 6 o'clock this morning. BART put out an alert on social media saying an earlier equipment problem is causing delays on the track and through the Transbay tube. Then around 7 o'clock, BART updated the messaging and said the red and green lines were not working. Service is now back up, trains are running again, but commuters still should expect some delays. Supervisors will meet this afternoon in San Francisco to push final tweaks to the city's upzoning plan, which would allow for taller, denser housing in San Francisco's west and north neighborhoods. Proposals include protecting rent-controlled and historic buildings, as well as adding more family-sized units and shielding low-income areas. Supporters say this will ease housing costs long-term. Critics fear it would push people out and change the character of their neighborhoods in the city. A former running back for the Oakland Raiders and Tampa Bay Buccaneers died while in police custody in Oakland over the weekend. The Bay Area News Group identified the man as Doug Martin. Officers received a report early Saturday morning of a break-in, and then the suspect was having some kind of medical emergency. They arrested him after a brief struggle, but then they say he became unresponsive and later died at a hospital. No word yet on the cause of his death. Let's get another check of our first alert forecast with meteorologist Jessica Birch on this Monday.
Well, we're kicking off this week's forecast with warm weather widespread throughout the Bay Area, and that includes our coast too. I mean, you head over into San Francisco and Oakland and all the way along our coastline today. We either have 70s or 80s on tap for us, and that's the case too as we head off into our inland spots. You make your way from Santa Rosa off into the East Bay today. We have low 80s in store for us there, right where we should be for this time of year, but still a little bit above average for our friends closer to Half Moon Bay at 73 as we head into this afternoon. You add 10 degrees to that. Well, now we're talking about the Santa Clara Valley forecast. A nice warm way to kick off this week, but we do have some changes around the corner as early as Wednesday, actually. I'll show you the numbers in just a second, what the models are showing, but as we head into our Tuesday and Wednesday forecast, we actually have clouds starting to push in from the south. We have a chance of some thunderstorm activity, a small chance, about 15% as we head into Wednesday and Thursday, with showers pushing in from the central coast. But places like Monterey, Salinas, all the way over into Santa Cruz, they have the best chance of seeing some substantial rain, actually. That'll start to dry up as we head into Thursday, but look what it does to our numbers. We're holding on tight to 80s today and tomorrow. Suddenly that area of low pressure pushes in from the south. Now that's when we see cooler conditions. 80s turning into 60s pretty fast. And then on top of that, we're also going to continue to hold on tight to mild weather diving into this weekend's forecast. 70s on tap for us with partly cloudy skies right around the corner. Now you make your way over into our inland spots. Check this out. We hold on tight to warm conditions to kick off the week and cool conditions to head into that midweek forecast. Well, I mean, it's the same along the bay too. 80s to 60s right around the corner. And then we'll hold on tight to 60s as we head into this weekend's forecast with a chance of showers as early as Sunday and Monday of next week. For now, back to you.
The recent rains may have lowered the threat of wildfires in the area, but the challenge of maintaining fire insurance is really a year-round problem for many people here in California. So as a result, a number of new laws aim to stabilize the home insurance market. Here's John Ramos with that story.
Unless you paid cash or own your home outright, property insurance isn't an option. It's required to maintain a mortgage. And that makes California's insurance crisis a universal problem, and one the legislature is getting very involved with. Marin County has probably been more proactive about cutting wildfire risk than anywhere else in the Bay Area. Central Marin Fire Chief Todd Lando says many homeowners are doing what they can to remove fuels around their homes, but that doesn't always come cheap.
It's taken years of education and efforts to get outreach into the communities to help people understand what their real vulnerabilities are, especially in Zone 0. The first 5 feet around the house plays a big role, and sometimes, depending on what your property looks like, it could be a big expense. You may need to hire professionals.
So the governor just signed Assembly Bill 888, which establishes a grant program to help low and middle income homeowners in high fire risk areas to pay to remove flammable vegetation and install more fire-resistant roofs and materials on homes. And it's not just about safety, it's also about insurability. Another new law addresses how victims of wildfire are paid by their insurance companies. Currently, insurers of homes lost in declared disasters will only get 30% of their policy limits unless homeowners supply a complete list of all that was lost.
Rebuilding after a total loss is overwhelming. People are forced to remember every toothbrush, pan, pair of shoes. It adds needless pain to an already traumatic experience.
Senate Bill 495 tried to stop that by requiring insurers to pay 100% of a policy's limits on personal property loss without itemizing the possessions.
In the process in the legislature, the insurance industry whittled that down. So the bill, as it was signed by the governor last week, is 60% of that personal property coverage will be paid without that itemized list. But it still improves the situation for consumers who are being asked to itemize things in the wake of a fire and re-traumatize themselves.
With many insurers drawing back from the market, many homeowners have been forced into the California FAIR Plan. It was meant to be the insurer of last resort, but has now grown to become the second largest policy writer in the state.
But the FAIR Plan was not designed to absorb the number of policyholders at the current rate. This came to a head in February when the FAIR Plan requested financial assistance from its member companies to ensure claims continue to be paid from the Palisades and Eaton fires. This measure provides the FAIR Plan additional resources to ensure they have adequate claims paying capacity.
AB 226 helps stabilize the FAIR Plan by issuing state-backed bonds and lines of credit so insurance companies can spread out over time any bailouts of the FAIR Plan that may be necessary following a major disaster. Finally, SB 429 will begin the process of creating a statewide wildfire risk model generated by public universities so future pricing decisions won't be relying solely on private insurance company data, usually shrouded in secrecy. There may not be a lot of trust in the insurance industry right now, but Battalion Chief Lando says we can't really avoid the relationship.
We want insurance. We need someone to provide it. I think we need to do everything we can to make sure we can all keep it.
A law was passed that would have banned flammable materials within 5 feet of structures starting in 2023. But that, too, has been held up in the process. Governor Newsom has now directed officials to finalize the so-called Zone 0 rules by the end of this year. PG&E is proposing a multi-year rate increase, with online meetings for public rebuttal taking place on Wednesday and Thursday. PG&E wants to increase average bills by about $140 a year in 2027. By the year 2030, the rate would be about $400 more than what they are currently. Early estimates suggest that the increase would generate $4.4 billion in revenue. PG&E says it intends to use that money for operational costs and safety upgrades, as well as modernization efforts. Meantime, PG&E says it has been working hard to put power lines underground in high fire risk areas. Suji Nam followed a crew in Napa County right near the site of the recent picket fire.
Over here, we've got what we call a chain trencher. What this machine is doing is compacting the soil on top of the conduit.
It's a busy morning in this mountainous neighborhood of Angwin in Napa County.
So these power lines at the top of the pole, once our project is complete, those will be removed, permanently removing any wildfire risk associated with those lines.
Dave Canny, the vice president of the PG&E North Coast region, is surveying just one of several undergrounding power line projects across the Bay Area.
For example, a tree falling into the lines, sparking a wildfire.
Canny oversees his crews paving trenches for underground power lines. Adding that in Napa County, they are installing about 50 miles underground. And as of October, he shares his crews undergrounded about 1,000 miles across areas prone to wildfires.
1,000 miles is longer than the state of California, so that 1,000 miles of power lines that have now kept customers safe from the wildfire risk.
About 5 miles north.
This is Schwartz Creek right here, and we're in the middle of the burn zone.
Jeff Alvarez, the head of the Biological Field Studies Association, runs what once stood the Cleary Reserve.
We've had a history here for 62 years of doing environmental education work and scientific research, and much of that is now sent back to zero.
He is picking up the pieces from the picket fire back in August, scorching 440 acres of lush greenery and biodiversity at the reserve. Alvarez says while he appreciates PG&E's efforts to mitigate wildfires across the Bay Area, he says more needs to be done.
We have to work with CAL FIRE and the state to try to make protective zones, so shade breaks, fire breaks, more access, and probably more money for not firefighting, but prevention of fire in these areas.
And the collaboration is something Canny is pushing for.
Because our men and women live and work in these communities, many of them have experienced wildfire personally and therefore are particularly passionate.
Canny says they're forecasting a total of 1,600 miles undergrounded in the Bay Area and Central California by the end of 2026.
So here on your screen is a look at where the undergrounding projects are taking place. This week, PG&E hit a milestone of 1,000 miles of line buried. The ultimate goal is to get 10,000 miles of line underground across the state of California. Coming up next, can the Bay Area take the reins from Hollywood when it comes to making movies? We'll take a look at the plan to bring more lights, camera, and action to the city.
Well, we're kicking off this week nice and warm. We're talking about 80s in our inland spots, upper 70s in the forecast in San Francisco, some low 80s all the way over into Oakland, just across the Bay Bridge. Now, as we head into the next couple days, this area of low pressure sweeps in for our midweek forecast, dropping us down into the 60s, and then we start to average back out into the 70s and 60s into this weekend's forecast. Now, that's for our inland spots. You make your way over into the Bay, it's looking very similar. Starting off nice and warm, cooling down fast into that midweek setup, and there's even a chance of showers as we head into this weekend as early as Sunday and Monday of next week.
Well, if you live here in the Bay Area, it's pretty easy to become numb to San Francisco's unique look. There are really so many iconic landmarks. It's no wonder that countless classic movies and TV shows have taken place here. But in recent years, Hollywood has stepped back a bit, largely because of rising production costs. But will San Francisco take its place? Kelsey Thord looks at how the city is trying to entice studios to set up shop by the Bay.
Locals and tourists alike were pleasantly surprised Friday to stumble upon a film shoot in North Beach. It's like out of a movie. No, it's like that doesn't happen in Switzerland. So for us, it's really unexpected and it's really, interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I've always liked seeing San Francisco show up when I watch movies.
The shoot here is for a commercial, but Film SF, the department in charge of attracting and permitting productions in the city, say interest in filming all sorts of projects is on the rise.
There is a sentiment right now, right? There is this feeling that we're seeing more, especially in this summer. We had a couple of independent films that we're shooting here.
Last year, 241 different productions shot in San Francisco, a slight increase from the year before. The industry is still rebounding from the pandemic and the 2023 strike. That's why this summer, the governor signed a bill increasing tax incentives to try and get more productions to stay in California.
The governor signing an incentive package was critical and crucial. So we hope to see some results from that. I think we might.
The Bay Area, of course, has long been a star of the screen. From Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
Why are they doing this?
To Marvel's Shang-Chi.
Who are you?
Ask anyone, and they can usually name at least one movie or TV show shot here.
Michael Douglas, Streets of San Francisco. I remember the 70s as a kid, yeah.
City leaders are trying to keep that legacy going by not only utilizing the state's new tax incentives, but leveraging their own tax incentive as well. Currently, certain productions are eligible to get back up to $600,000 of what they paid to the city to shoot here.
It's like, what else can we be creative and do to drive more business here, which is looking at our incentive and see how we can make it more competitive to keep productions that are set in San Francisco to really stay here.
Luckily for the city, San Francisco has some of the most breathtaking backdrops, almost impossible to recreate anywhere else. And many of the biggest names in the industry, from George Lucas to Ryan Coogler, are products of the Bay. These are all factors many believe will keep San Francisco and the entire Bay Area at the heart of the film industry for decades to come.
There's a deep, deep pride in the work, and there's also this sense of, I think, adventurousness and creativity that feels very organic to what San Francisco is.
How's this for some Bay Area movie trivia? According to the San Francisco Public Library, at least 20 films set in the city have either won an Oscar or been nominated for one. See if more come up in the near future. Coming up after the break, we'll introduce you to one Bay Area woman mixing business with pleasure, making beautiful artisanal cakes for dogs. Meeting people in a new city is not always easy. The one Russian immigrant in San Francisco found that her perfect combination of sweet treats and furry friends not only brings people together, but can be a lucrative business as well. Here's Lorene Ayub.
Pretty puppies and tasty treats. At Mishka Dog Boutique, owner Olia Rosenblatt says luxury and health go hand in hand.
My heart belongs to cooking. I really love it, and I love dogs, obviously. So once I just realized that, okay, I want this beautiful, bright glaze, and how can I make healthy, beautiful product, but it should be vibrant and vivid as the vegetables are.
Known for her all-natural artisanal dog cakes, Olia, who immigrated to the U.S. from Russia, says the Bay Area dog community welcomed her even in her humble beginnings.
Many of my first customers who remember how I barely speak English. I speak English with them through the Google Translator.
Isn't it so tasty? But speaking the shared language of a love for animals and quality food, Olia grew a loyal support system. So much so that her business has expanded from Union Street to the Ferry Building to the Ritz-Carlton and more.
We know like luxury watch, we know luxury car, but what is a true luxury product for a dog in the world? Well, I'm probably too ambitious or maybe a little bit crazy at some point, but I really believe that it's Mishka right now.
And beyond the colorful beauty of her products, Olia says the most powerful part of her journey has been the community of dog lovers she has come to connect with.
She treats my dog like they're her children. I'm gonna cry. She treats my dog like they're her children, and my dog will be 16.
And that's what motivates Olia's passion for Mishka, bringing health and joy to the furry friends she has always loved since she was a little girl.
No matter how bad mood, no matter how bad weather, like if I see a dog, it makes me smile.
And the dogs, well, they smile back.
Mishka Dog Cakes first opened on Union Street in 2018. That was just 1 year after Olia came to the United States. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Max Darrow. We'll be right back with your First Alert forecast and a look at your top stories.